Hello guys, we're hanging out again for another live stream here at Video Creators like we've been doing on Mondays. And if you're watching the replay of this later, we'd love to have you enable notifications so you get a notification when you pop up here on your phone, email, whatever. Just click that bell icon next to subscribe, and love to have you join us for our next one. Hang out with all these awesome people in chat with Robo Squid, with Ninja, with Get Pop, and Mirko, and Animated Cartoon Box, and Melody Lane, and Crazy Kylie, and Demi. You guys want to be here, so make sure you enable that and turn that on, because we're gonna have a good conversation, and we're gonna talk about some future things happening here on YouTube that are gonna make a pretty big impact, a pretty big difference on a thumbnail design. So, and if you're also watching the replay of this, you can watch this in double speed, or just click on the gear icon. If you're on desktop, change the playback speed. You can watch through it faster. That's what I usually do. If you're on mobile, you can change the playback speed as well by clicking on the player options there, the three dots in the upper corner, and check that out. So today, guys, we're going to have some fun. We're going to do some Q&A like we do in all our live streams, so make sure you're asking those in the chat. Hello, everyone. Hey, Total Kicks. Hey, Moss Family. Hey, Apple Kim. Lance Flips. Good to see all you guys. So ask your questions. Trina is here hanging out with us, and she'll be taking your questions. I'm going to do like we've done in the past. I'm going to record a little podcast episode here, and then kind of talking about this topic about what's happening with YouTube thumbnails and how much can they read on a thumbnail, and do they know if a human's going to like your thumbnail when you upload it, even before you set that video to public, and what impact does that have on search and discoverability, all those things. Let's talk about some of that stuff here today. So let's get into that, but while I'm talking, I'll be taking questions from the Q&A later, so make sure you post those questions there. And let me start the podcast recording here, and then we're going to get into this. It's going to be interesting. Here we go. Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another live stream. Whoa, that's wrong. Let me do that again. This is a live stream. This is for the podcast. Hello, creators. How are you guys? It's great to hang out with you again for another podcast episode like we do every Tuesday here on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. In case you're new here, the Video Creators Podcast is a place where we just talk about what it takes to grow an audience on YouTube and what it means to reach people and change their lives on this platform. So it's all about like the monetization side, how we make this sustainable financially. It's about the audience development side, the community development, the business development, everything that goes into growing an audience on YouTube. And today we have a really interesting thing to talk about. And thankfully, this is sponsored by CustomThumbnails.com. If you guys want custom thumbnails made for you, go to CustomThumbnails.com, use coupon code VideoCreators, get 50% off your first order, and those guys are awesome. So I have a few links in the show notes of this episode that came out, later part of last year, about 2 months ago, and it's about how Google they've developed an AI, artificial intelligence, that can predict whether or not humans will like an image or not. And I think this isn't too unusual to us, I don't think, because if you guys are familiar with Facebook, you know that that's a thing. Like when you upload a photo to Facebook, it's been a long time now, it'll automatically detect the faces of who's in that photo and suggest to you, hey, do you want to tag yourself? Hey, do you want to tag your wife or your friend or whoever? So the facial recognition thing on images has been a long time thing that we're all used to. And so when I started seeing this on Facebook, I started thinking, is this technology going to come to YouTube, in the sense that will YouTube be analyzing our thumbnails just like they do our videos when we upload them? Now, you guys know that when a video is uploaded to YouTube, the Content ID system is evaluating that video while it's being uploaded. They're scanning a huge database of content, and they're looking for any matches between the content that you're uploading and a content that's in their content ID system. And so often, like if you're using some copyrighted material, even before that video is done uploading, you will have a notice saying, hey, this video contains copyrighted material, and YouTube will handle that material based on the policy that the copyright holder has set, which could either be, hey, block this, don't even let it be uploaded. They could say, allow it to be uploaded, but we get the revenue from the ads or a cut of that. Or they could say, let it go, let them take the revenue, just give us the analytics and the data about how that video is performing. So they get to choose one of those. So I was thinking, if they're already doing this with videos, which is like literally just 30 images or 24 images or 60 images per second that they're analyzing, the thumbnails probably shouldn't be too far out of reach, right? And the cool thing about this is, at least I'm hoping it's cool, what they could do with this is like on YouTube, growing a YouTube channel will eventually become no longer, it's already there actually, it's no longer just about optimizing metadata and titles and tags and descriptions and things. That's kind of like 2012 era is kind of what that was. And then we've since watch time took over and a lot of other things happened, we've since moved into metadata still matters, but now it's a video optimization, and not by metadata, but video, like the actual video content itself. How does it tease us? How does it hook a viewer in the first 15 seconds? How does it brand the channel? How does it get someone to fall in love with the creator? And how does it get someone to subscribe and engage? Like that's what the actual content itself does, not the quality of your metadata necessarily. And so that's been the game for like the past few years of how do you grow a YouTube channel. It's kind of getting another layer deeper here is like YouTube collects a lot of signals from viewers about how they think your video will perform or is performing based on the amount of time someone spends watching your videos, what they do after watching your video, like does it increase their viewing session overall on YouTube and get them to see more videos and watch more ads, or does it send them away from YouTube, or they abandon YouTube or shortly after watching your video. A lot of factors go into this. But I've been thinking for a while, like, what if Google developed a technology would do something similar with thumbnails, in the sense that those thumbnails get uploaded and they can look at that image and they can see, is there text on that image? And if so, what does it say? And should we include that in the metadata, quote unquote, for this video? Or does it include a smiling face? If so, whose face is it? Does it include a cat or a dog or a whale? And I think to YouTube's advantage, like what this would allow them to do is pretty quickly be able to remove spam related content. Like, okay, we scan the video and we have an idea that this video is about dogs, but the thumbnail is clearly a cat. There's something misleading here, right? And the viewer signals will quickly determine that too. And I'm not saying any of this is true nor happening. I'm speculating with you right now, and then I want to kind of jump into some new technology that YouTube's been working on here that kind of indicates that maybe this is a direction that we're going in with this. I'm going to introduce you to that in a second. But I think, like, what if YouTube used this type of technology to know this is what's in the image, this is what's in the video, this is potentially spam, or let's say it gave it a rating of some kind, and like certain videos above certain ratings got promoted, other ones like got tested for a little bit, and other ones they just know right away this video is not going to perform well because we have billions of views like a month and billions of hours of watch time. Like, we know with like extreme confidence that this video is just not going to go anywhere. I'm not saying it would ever come to that. I'm not saying that's even a thing right now. I'm just saying, for the sake of the argument, could that be a thing that happens? So let's look at where some of this technology is going. And there's a link in the show notes to this article over in the next web. It's called "Google's AI Can Predict Whether or Not Humans Will Like an Image or Not." And so I'm not going to read to you the article here. You guys can check it out, but let me just kind of summarize it. This is kind of a quote from the white paper that an organization working with Google did. They said, "Our approach differs from others in that we predict the distribution of human opinion scores using a convolutional neural network. Our resulting network can be used to not only score images reliably with high correlation to human perception, but also to assist with the adaptation and optimization of photo editing / enhancement algorithms in a photographic pipeline." So basically what that means is they can see an image and they can know, okay, this is the most optimal way this image should be optimized for a human. And so they can take an image and like, okay, this is what you gave us, a little bit blurry, a little bit cloudy, a little bit dark, and they can enhance it and say this is optimal for people. And they'll add more contrast, lighten the shadows, sharpen up the image a little bit, and they can do that over and over again with different and I'm not talking just like the auto feature on your like Instagram, like filters. This is like we're optimizing it to know what people will respond best to, generally speaking. And so they said, we've observed that the baseline aesthetic ratings can be improved by contrast adjustments directed by, and they call it the NIMA score. Consequently, our model is able to guide a deep convoluted neural network filter to find aesthetically near optimal settings of its parameters, such as brightness, highlights, and shadows, and they can update the image accordingly. So links to all this, including Google's own research blog about, it's called NIMA neural image assessment, and what's happening with this, and all the data, and all the research scientists and machine learning engineers and everything behind this, and what's going on if you want to get into the technical nitty-gritty of it. And there's also a full-blown white paper from them about the two people, and it's like several pages long. It's all in computer speak and nerd language, so if you're into that kind of thing, check it out. All those links are in the show notes. You can see plenty of visuals of examples and things. But this is where I find it interesting that Google is investing into this type of technology in the first place. That they say, hey, this is what your image looks like. Here's an enhanced optimal image. It's not going to, this isn't too far of a stretch to say, here's the thumbnail you gave us, here's a better thumbnail. Here's what you think people will click on, but this is what people actually click on. So I know a lot of creators who, and if this is you, feel free to raise your hand. And those of you who are watching the live stream of this right now, feel free to raise your hand in chat if this is you. No shame here, no judging. I've done this. I still do this, just to be totally honest. Is you'll put all this work into a video, and you'll upload it, hoping that it does well, that it gets subscribers, positive retention, lots of watch time, and people love it. And then you're like, oh, I just want this video to be over. And so you upload it, and it's got like, you'll slap a title and thumbnail on it and kind of not put that much more energy behind it, like 10 minutes into a title and thumbnail, right? So we've all done it. Yes, we've all done that. I see you guys in the chat. We have done this. And those of you who are listening to the podcast, you can put your hand down. I see it. It's fine. So what this research indicates to me is that we can spend a lot of time optimizing metadata, as we should. And we can spend a lot of time optimizing our video content, as we should. We also need to spend a lot of time optimizing our thumbnails. But by optimizing thumbnails, like we haven't had as many metrics to know how to optimize that by. Like, so, optimizing the video, you look at your audience retention graphs. You can see exactly when people are abandoning the video. You can see exactly when people are leaving, what people are rewatching, what gets them excited. You can see all that in your audience retention graph and use that, analyze it, study it to increase your audience retention, get more watch time, tell a better story, or get better content that your audience wants to see and not lose them. But there hasn't been so much on the thumbnail side, and maybe something's coming. Maybe I don't know. But like the fact that they're investing in this type of technology says we can look at a video, an image, and optimize it for a human to get like the best human response from it and predict whether or not like a human will even like this image or not. I think that means for us as creators that we need to be studying the heck out of our thumbnails. And I want to give you guys a few ideas of different tests and how you can maybe A/B test some of your thumbnails. Because if this isn't here right now, I don't have any information to indicate that this is here right now. I do have obviously public information that you guys have right now as well that indicates they're working on this and it might be coming. And so if it is coming, I think there's some things that we need to do as creators to kind of stay ahead of the curve before this type of unfair advantage becomes accessible to everyone, you know, when it rolls out on the platform or something like that. And even if it is into effect right now, we need to be doing some things with our thumbnails that make it like that trigger these types of things for Google to feel like that is a good image, or that is something people want to click on, or that is not a spammy video, right? Like, what are some things? So I want to give you guys a few different ways you can test this very easily. And a lot of my viral video friends, like people who specialize in making viral videos, there's a lot of data and science that goes into that. And these are some of the things that they do to test hundreds of combinations before they actually send a, quote, viral video, unquote, or, you know, out in the public, out into the wild. There's a lot of data and research. So I'm going to tell you guys what they are. But before I do that, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsors of this episode, to customthumbnails.com. And I think this is like so fitting for what we're talking about right now. This guy behind it, his name's Justin. He's a friend of mine. And he is like he's like a scientist when it comes to thumbnails. I worked with him. He started this channel. He had 0 views, zero subscribers, and built this thing to 15 million views a month in only 6 months, 30 million views a month after 12 months. And a lot of it was due, not completely, but obviously a lot of this is due to the quality of your thumbnails. And so he just like nailed this. He started doing thumbnails for me and other people. And he started this website called customthumbnails.com. And you can go here and you can just give him some assets, give him all the direction that you want him to take and his team with your thumbnails. And they crank out in 24 hours or less. Usually it's only a few hours, but in less than 24 hours is their guarantee. They'll send you back a quality thumbnail design that in their opinion is best optimized to attract the audience that you want to attract and pitch the story that you have in your video. And you can do unlimited revisions with them. They give you lots of you can just, until you're satisfied, that's their goal. And so tons of big brands have been using him, and it's relatively inexpensive. So use coupon code video creators to get 50% off your first order there to try it out, customthumbnails.com. And I'm so glad that they're sponsoring this because I know that's going to help so many of you guys so much with this. If you're like me, this is who I use now on my family's channel. All my thumbnails now are designed by him and at customthumbnails.com, and they have, you know, dramatically improved how our content is performing in terms of views, in terms of discoverability, in terms of subscribers we're earning now, and everything's definitely been worth the investment. So highly recommend you check them out. They've been awesome for me, and I think you guys will love them. So what can you do to test your thumbnail ideas before you publish your video, so that you know before you publish this that you have a video thumbnail that is as optimized as possible to get people to click? So a few things. Let me give you guys some ideas here. So idea number one is that some people will actually, they'll create, let's just say for our here, like if you're doing a viral thumbnail or a viral video that you want to get hundreds of millions of views, then it's not unusual to have hundreds of different variations of the video, the title, and the thumbnail. Hundreds of different variations. And they will test all of them and the way they test it. But for our example, let's just say, let's make this like normal for us. We're not going to cut 100 different versions of the same video and see which one gets the best retention and all that kind of stuff. Let's just say we're going to do 5 different thumbnails. And so one thing you can do is you can upload them to Facebook and create a Facebook ad. Real cheap, just show it like on the sidebar on Facebook and have a few different thumbnail ideas there, a few different title ideas for, you know, each one, different combinations, and just real cheap, just run it for like $5-10, something like that. And what you're looking for is you're looking at the impression to click ratio. So for the number of impressions that this thumbnail, quote, slash Facebook ad got, how many people clicked, like, and what audience clicked? Is that the audience I'm going after on YouTube? Did this entice them to click? And they'll run it for a few days, maybe a week, or just a day, depending on, there's not like you don't need a ton of data. You're just trying to get a basic idea. And they'll look at the 5 and they'll say, okay, this got X number of impressions, it got this number of clicks. And, so this thumbnail C clearly won hands down, right? So then they'll go with that image as their thumbnail. When the clicks, they're doing a few things. Sometimes they'll just link it to an unlisted video on your channel and let someone actually watch the video, unlisted before it goes public. Other times the thumbnail will lead to a landing page and say, this video is coming on such and such date, put it next week. Really excited. We're really excited that you want to watch this video. Enter your email below and we'll send it to you when it comes out. And so that way they're also, collecting some email addresses for their email list. They're also building some hype for this. So when it releases, they have like a few people who are just like, yes, I want to see this right away. They're also looking at, and sometimes you really want to get technical, they're looking at when someone clicks on this ad and lands on our landing page, they're also on the impressions of that landing page. So people who actually give them an email address saying, I kind of wanted to see this versus, oh, I really want to see this. Right? And so they kind of take a lot of those factors in. So that's one way that you can do it and run a few tests, see which of your thumbnail options, you want to go with at that point. Another way that you can do this, and this is what I think, this is what I do most often on my team for thumbnails, is it's not unusual for my editor, Julia, to create several different versions of a thumbnail for a video. And typically we'll go through several revisions for this, not because she's not a great designer. She is. She does amazing work. She gets it she does a really good job. But what I find valuable is that it's her giving her input and her creative thoughts behind it. And then I get to add my creative thoughts. And then Trina, who's in the chat of the live stream here, moderating all your questions, which I'm going to get to here in a few minutes. But then she's giving her input as well. And so there's 3 of us coming around this thumbnail and saying, I think this is good, but what if we tweak that? Oh, I think this. And so instead of getting a lot of different people to click, which is a great way of doing it, I suffice it to say I am getting 3 people's opinions who I trust, and we're all working on this. We're all bringing our collective experiences to the table, and we are thinking deliberately about this and designing this to what we feel like will perform the best. Now, sometimes we're wrong, there's been times before, there's been videos where I will look at a video after it's been published and think, you know what, that video should be performing better than it really is. Why is that not performing better? And I'll look at some things like, no, I think the content's good. And, I'll go and I'll tweak the title and we'll put a new thumbnail on it. We'll slap a new thumbnail on it. And sometimes, I've done that before in some videos, and it just takes off. Not immediately. Usually it takes Google some time to kind of reindex it, gather new signals about the video from viewers and things like that. And then we kind of reposition it. But just because you put something on a video and publish it that way doesn't mean it has to stay that way forever. Now, I wouldn't go updating titles and thumbnails and descriptions, every other day, thinking, why is this video not working? Give it 3 to 6 months every time you do that, unless you just publish a video. And that's usually when I'll change it the first 24 hours or so. I'm like, this video is not getting the type of traction I hoped it would get, or I think it should be getting. Let's give it a new thumbnail and then reevaluate for another 24 hours, and we'll either keep it the way it is, or if it's drastically slowed down at that point, then I'll go back and put the old thumbnail on it. Or a different one yet. So those are a few different ways that you can test your thumbnail designs. Another thing that a friend of mine did, I haven't done this myself, but I think it makes sense, is she actually posts some of her images that she's thinking about using for thumbnails as Instagram photos. And she'll post a few of them, and then she just looks at which one got the most likes and the most comments, like what elicited the most response from someone based on the number of likes that it got on Instagram. So that's another great way you could use to kind of just evaluate it. I think, there's a lot of different scientific things maybe about these images, but I think at the end of the day, the main point is think intentionally about the designs, craft them on purpose to get the results that you want, and then don't just slap it up there and forget about it. Like, continue to test and continue to analyze and try things before you publish the video to see which one might work best. Another thing that you can do, and this is something that I do, my producer does with my videos now, is we look at different types of videos on our channel and on clients that we work with, and we'll make a group. In your YouTube Analytics, if you're not familiar, you can go to the upper right corner of your YouTube Analytics, and there's a drop-down menu called Groups. And in there, you can create groups of content in your analytics together. So you can make a group of all your thumbnails, all videos that have thumbnails with a face on them, all thumbnails that don't have a face on them, all the ones that have a blue border versus all the ones that have a yellow border, all the ones that have, you can, whatever you want, break it all down, create a different group for each of those types of thumbnails. Now then you can overlay those groups together in your YouTube Analytics and be like, okay, there's a face on these videos. Generally speaking, they perform 15% better. I'm just making up that stat. I don't know. Like, for every content's different. So 15% better than when they don't have a face on it. It's like, okay, so maybe going forward, we should make sure there's a face. And then we're going to test smiling face versus surprised and shocked face. You can test that too. And of course, it has to go along with the story and the title of the video and the value that's, being pitched and provided in that video as well. And there's other things that can be at play too. Sometimes what we'll do on our groups is we will take out like the top 5% in a group and the bottom 5% in a group. So like the ones, sometimes you just have a video that just goes big for other reasons, not related to the thumbnail. And you're like, that's kind of skewing all the data. So you'll take like the top few videos out of that group. And then maybe you have a few bottom ones that are just performing well. Well, I published that one on Christmas morning and it had nothing to do with Christmas. That's why, whatever. And so then we can get like a median score. You can do that too. So these are all ways, and there's more. And I'd love to hear from you guys who are hanging out here in the live stream, and those of you who are listening to the podcast later, what other ideas you guys have for how you test your thumbnails. And I see a lot of you guys here in the chat are talking about how you make better thumbnails, which is great. And yeah, I know some of you guys are already looking at that report about the image neural networks and Google's AI, and looking at some of these examples they have. And yes, some of these things you guys are pulling out here in the chat, exactly right. More contrast, pop, like the colors are popping. And the eye is drawn to one place in the image versus another. There's a lot of those types of things going on. So you guys are doing awesome. What I want to do now is jump into some of the questions you guys have about here. We got a few super chats I want to jump into first here. Thank you so much to the Pony Show for $2, and you're welcome. He says, great, thanks great video, thanks Tim. And then Big Crazy Outdoor Adventures for $10. Thank you. Thanks for the education. Been listening to your podcasts and videos for a while. They have helped. Awesome. Glad they've helped. Thank you so much. And then Sparky 107107, $10 from Canada. I am a model railroad channel, so my thumbnails are a screenshot from the video. Then add colorful text. TubeBuddy helps me a lot with making thumbnails. Okay, great. Glad that works for you. I would suggest that maybe, depending on who your audience is, but a lot of people do take a thumbnail or a screenshot from the video or a still frame and turn that. And I think there does need to be something that in the thumbnail, that when someone clicks on a thumbnail, there's something familiar in the video that confirms for them or affirms for them that yes, what you clicked is expecting is coming in this video. So so we typically try to do that, but maybe just, it depends on what the screenshot is, of course, from the video. That is definitely a great way to do it. And I have found that images that are actually from the video itself tend to perform better as thumbnails than just totally like stock images or images that are just like made up or just totally photoshopped completely 100%. Something like that. The thumbnail needs to affirm for the viewer that there's some kind of affirmation between what they clicked on and what they're getting when they first watch that video. But I wonder, for model railroad, if you're telling stories, maybe it'd be a good idea to position the trains in a way that makes it look like that, like the story that you're telling. I'm thinking Thomas the Tank Engine because I have kids, so that's my context. But I haven't seen your video, so I don't know exactly. But just think like pitch story and tease value in the thumbnails rather than just saying this is what our image or what our video contains. Anything that teases a viewer, like causes them to have some sort of question mark in this, when they see that image and look at that video, will get more clicks and more views because the brain is like, I need that question mark resolved. There's an unsolved unknown here and I need to know. So if your titles and thumbnails create that question mark and creates that sense of intrigue, they will perform better as well. So we got a few questions here. I think we've answered some of them all already. Hashtag Zoe asks, can you have a successful thumbnail without words? For example, an eyelash try-on haul where you just show eyes with the lashes on, no words, possible success. Yes, absolutely. So there's the text on thumbnails, text off thumbnails. That is a debate. I think you should absolutely test it. My general experience, and that's not true for everyone, but my general experience has been that educational videos tend to perform better with text, and entertainment videos tend to perform better without text and just a clear visual. So if you're like a gamer or a vlogger or a skit comedy or something, just focus on a really good visual that teases the story that you're telling, that pitches the value that is coming, and have a title that accompanies it. You can use text, but you should use text to and this is true for both educational and entertainment channels. You should use text that complements the title in some way, not just like repeating exactly what the title says in the thumbnail. Like that's kind of pointless. I mean, your viewer, if they can read, they've already read it in the title. So use the thumbnail as a good visual. It's like the billboard for your video. On educational type videos, I've noticed that text does tend to perform a little bit better. But again, just remember to use it to complement the title, not just like repeat the title, the exact same thing, put that in the thumbnail. So for example, what I mean by complement, like if you go to some of my videos, I've got an example right here. Waiting for it to load. So instead of saying something like 5 overlooked ways to get more YouTube views, which is what last week's video was, looked at some of the little known tricks and hacks most people don't do and overlook to get more views. There's text on that thumbnail, but it says, I'll show you guys here on the live stream. It says your awesome video, right? Or we come down here a little bit further. This one's called why you stopped making YouTube videos, and the text is I quit. So you can, or here's one, how to streamline your YouTube workflow. And we have shoot, edit, publish as the text in the thumbnails, like checklists, right? So you can have that text in your thumbnails, but just kind of limit it and use it sparingly and use it intentionally. Random Outdoors asks, if I spend 10 minutes on a video, should I spend that much time on my thumbnails or should I spend more time than that? If you spend 10 minutes on a video, I want to know what kind of videos you're making, because that is like nothing. So I don't think there's a certain amount of time you need to spend on your thumbnails necessarily. I think it's more about getting I just don't want you to rush through it. I want you to get the quality that you need in order to get people to click and want to watch your content on an ongoing basis. So there's no magic saying, yes, everyone needs to spend 45 minutes on their thumbnails. Sometimes we spend more than that. Sometimes we get it on the first one. I feel like, awesome, great. So I don't think there's a magic number. I just want you to think, don't like spend a ton of time on your video, upload it, publish it, and then you're just tired, you want to get it done, so you just quickly slap on a title and thumbnail. That's what I'm talking about. Family 8, what are the best types of thumbnails to use? Bright and colorful or just plain? Bright and colorful, absolutely. Bright colors, colorful, high contrast between the foreground and the background. One question that I think not too many, and this comes more from a design background. In fact, I have a book. It's called The Non-Designer's Design Book by Robin Williams, and the subtitle is Design and Typographic Principles for the Visual Novice. This book is excellent when it comes to design. It's talking more about page layout, but the way you use colors, the way you use fonts, the way you lay out something and style it. This book is excellent for getting started with thumbnail design. So I highly recommend you guys check it out, and also use customthumbnails.com, of course, which is what I do. But this book is very helpful. So I don't have a link to this in this. Well, in the show notes, I'll put a link to it. There's not one for you guys right now, but you can check it out. But one of the things that you need to recognize is when people look at an image, they consume that image in a certain pattern, and the eye is drawn to certain elements. And so when you design your thumbnails, I think one of the things you should keep in mind is, where is the eye attracted to first in this thumbnail image? Where does the eye go just naturally? You look at it, and you can just do this on your own self, just test it yourself at a glance. Just kind of look away and then look at it. And if you've been the one editing it, it's probably a little bit harder to do that. But when you take the image itself, and when you are editing it, think, where do I want the eye to go? And make sure that's big, it's clear, it's in focus. Or you can put in the upper left corner, which is where in the Western society, because we read left to right, starting at the upper left corner, you put the thing you want to be noticed first up there in that corner. Things like that. So just don't clutter it too much. Just say, what do I want the eye to see first, and how is that going to attract them and entice them, capture their attention, and get them to click? And then don't do too many things in your thumbnail, especially if you have a high mobile audience. Make sure you zoom all the way out on that thing, and you're looking at it at a really small, not in its full resolution, but look at it when it's zoomed all the way out, and look at it really small. Can I still see the detail that I want people to see? Does this text still show up clearly? Can I still tell what's going on? Is my eye still attracted to the same thing? Things like that. Sinister Bunny Studios. Hey, Tim, do objects outlined in white within thumbnails give way to a better site-to-click ratio? I've noticed this in the gaming community a lot, but would like to implement it myself with music. That's a great question. I would tell you to test it. Create those analytics groups like we talked about, and test it with your audience. I do that if the thing I want the eye attracted to the most blends into the background too much. That's when I do it. Otherwise, I prefer to kind of keep the thumbnails looking natural, because that's what's, I'm not going to be outlined in my actual video. So if you need that thing to pop out a little bit more and grab a little bit more attention and stand out, have more contrast between the background or something, then yes, put a white stroke around it and make that thing pop out a little bit better. Thank you so much, Cooking Corner, for $5. Thank you, Tim, for all the help. Always enjoy your vids and live streams. Chef Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support, the Cooking Corner, and all your tweets and being in all these live streams. I'm really glad that you are an active part of this community at Video Creators. So thank you so much. Okay, so let's do one or two more here. Is it better to use, this is from Stephanie Corner, is it better to use your own photo or photo of what you are presenting? Again, test it. I think you should have your face on if it makes sense for your content. And so the way I do it is, or my editor, she cuts me out, puts me out. You can just look at my channel, youtube.com/video creators. See exactly what we're doing here. Cuts me out and puts me on top of something that's we try not to pitch just what the video is about. We try to pitch the reward the video brings if you watch this. Because most people are that's what they actually care about. It's not what your video is actually about. They're looking more for what's the value I'm going to get? What's the reward? Why is this worth my time to watch? And so we try to think why is this video important to you? And we make a title and thumbnail around that, as opposed to making it super technical and just telling you what we're talking about. So it depends on what you're presenting and things, but that's what I would do there. Start with your own photo if you're in the video, and then use a visual that complements and represents the reward or the value that your video brings to someone. That's an educational. If you're an entertainment channel, then tease the story. Totally. It's the story. It's what happens next? Or what is that? Or I need to see this part of the story. Or it pitches conflict that creates a question mark in the viewer's head, and they need that resolved. Things like that. So Chef Jelly asks, so what should be the basics of a good thumbnail? Big text, face picture, less busy background. Yeah, we've been kind of going over a lot of these here kind of as we answer questions, but big text versus no text, we're kind of talking about that. Face versus no face, something you'd experiment with. Generally, if you have a personality in your video, face tends to work better. But and faces that are smiling or showing some sort of shock or some sort of like something like that, where people are like, what, you know, something like that. And less busy backgrounds. Yeah. Don't clutter don't like the eye being like, so much going on here. What do I look at? Colossally awesome. I suppose the resolution of the thumbnail is important. Higher resolution is better. I just make it whatever the video is natively, make it that same resolution. So if you have a 4K video, make it a 4K thumbnail. If it's a 1080p, 720p video, make it the same resolution thumbnail. Let's see. Do one more here. Or two more, because there's another good one here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Sensational Life asks, I've been doing the same thumbnail for my vlog so that people know it's a vlog. But should I add details to the thumbnail that pertains to things in my blog? Yes, absolutely, you should. Like, each video needs to perform separately on its own. So think about how you position some of these videos to bring in a new audience who's never heard of you before. If all your videos have a very similar looking thumbnail, or even the same thumbnail, like, people don't know which one to click on. There's not one reason why they should click on this one versus another one. And if they do subscribe, the other videos that come through their feed don't really look differently than the videos they've already watched. So they should definitely be different. Oh, thank you for the $5 Paylines slot channel. Love what you do. Thanks so much for your help and starting my channels. You're welcome. And thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. All right, last one here, because this is like really, this is a big one. This is important. Modern Day Family Man, do you think having a uniform layout is important for branding? Whew. So, again, I'll come back to my disclaimer, I suppose, of test it. But the reason why branding a thumbnail might be something to consider, and this is what I mean by branding, is when you have something like some recognizable thing in all of your videos. So you guys see, like on my videos on the bottom left, there's like, I have a little red triangle with a little camera sticking out. They used to be far more overtly overt than that, but I've since backed off on that because I found that I wanted more screen real estate for thumbnails and I was taking up too much of it with text, too much of it with sidebars and things. So now I just have this little branding. And then the other part of the branding, which is a little bit more subtle, is that each one of these have my face on them. And even if it's an animated cartoon version of myself, which is the video you should look for tomorrow, I still have a hat on, right? So you can still tell that it's me. And so it's branded partly by the lower left corner. And you guys listening to the audio of this, just check it out, youtube.com/video creators. But it's also branded by my face. So people just kind of they just recognize Tim Schmoyer. They know that's mine. So I do think that's important. Now, one of the reasons people say it's important is because it gives, if someone's watching a video in the right sidebar and all those other suggestive videos, the belief is that if your videos, let's say your video is number 3, 5, and 8 in that list, and if there's a recognizable pattern to your thumbnails, like the eye is drawn to patterns and recognizable sequences and things. So your thumbnails should stand out more than the rest, and you'll thus get more clicks on one of your videos because if you have a few videos that are being suggested. That makes sense to me. I don't personally have data to know that that's true, but that makes sense to me that it would work that way. And so for just covering up the bottom left corner of the screen a little bit, I think that it makes sense to go ahead and do that. And I think that's probably a good thing to try, good thing to use and test in your thumbnails there. So, and Melody Lane, thank you so much for the $5. Thank you for helping so many. You're welcome. And thank you, Melody, for being such a long time supporter and contributor to this community here. I really do appreciate it. I want you guys who want more about this, I got more for you guys. You can check out Video Creators or patreon.com/video creators. We got more things to talk about regarding speech and AI. With the explosion of Google Home and Echo, Amazon Echoes, people talking to Alexa. They're just speaking more things. And so not only are these machines learning more about images, but they're learning more about like the way people use the internet is changing, the way they look up information, the way they discover content is changing. And when people just talk to a device, it's very different than when people type into a search bar or browsing, the internet looking for something. So there's a lot to be learned there. We don't know exactly what all the implications are, but we do have some more stories that we're not going to talk about here. But if you're a patron at the $1 level or higher, you will get all those bonus links that we have for you guys every week after these episodes. And I just really appreciate your support and you guys helping make it possible for me to hang out with and talk about these things and give you my insights, as opposed to going out and doing other things that are just not nearly as much fun as this. So thank you guys for your support. Other stuff over there, Patreon too. We got hangouts every month. We got guest expert trainings. We have a YouTube business podcast only for patrons. We talk about the money side of developing business around your channel and all that. So that I do with my my business manager Catherine, and I co-host those together every month for patrons. So go check it out, patreon.com/video creators. And thank you all of you guys who've been supporting this in super chats and also on Patreon. And if this is your first time here listening to the podcast, if you're listening to this, we'd love to have you subscribe. We'd also love to hear your reviews. So leave those for us on iTunes. That really helps us out, really gives us a lot of good feedback, and really helps make the show more discoverable for your fellow creators who are looking also to improve and grow on YouTube. So thank you guys, all of you, for being a part of this community. Thanks for hanging out. And you live streamers, we'll see you again next Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And you podcasters, I'll see you guys again next Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out, guys.